Morning. So this morning, I'm over here prepared to start working on the Cuda. So this whole panel right here, it's got to go. Got the replacement panels right here, and they need to get on this car. So how do I begin? Well, a drill, a cutoff tool. Yeah, got to drill out rivets. Up in this area, I don't want to damage things that are here because I need this to stay. This right here is their strength in our car. It's welded in here, triangulated over here. Yeah, this is what's holding our shape. So that has to stay strong. Right now we've got the firewall still in, what's left of it. And it's being jacked upon right there because I need to get this rocker panel out. And in order to take the rocker panel out, then the frame rail's got to come loose and so on and so forth. So it's a jigsaw puzzle of what do you do first. So the first thing we got to do is begin. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm beginning. So Danny cleaned this up for me yesterday, so I can see what I've got, and I need to start tearing into it. So I'm going to start out by drilling the rivets down here out, because there's 3 pieces of metal sandwiched in here, and I need to get that loose. I got a bracket on the inside. It's got to come loose. I've got to cut this out right here so I can get it those things to do that. I've got to drill the rivets out in this panel. There's right there, let's see, right there. They're all over the place. But I've got to get the steel cut loose so that when I use the air chisel on it, I push it in away from the steel. I don't bend this steel up. So that means taking my cutoff wheel and cutting this right here all the way down. And I've got to be careful not to get into this. So I've got to stay below this right here and cut it all the way down into here, and then I can start getting this steel out of here. So that's my job for today. So I'm going to take off and get at it. Point of that is to ghost where the rivets are. So if you haze across it, you can see the indentations where the rivets are, so you can drill them out. So that's the point of doing that. First step, sharpen drill. So taking a look at what we've got here, you can start to appreciate just how much we're rebuilding on this car. So this is where that panel was that I just took out. These are the rockers, pretty solid out here, completely gone in there. This is down inside. See, we had one frame rail mounted to the crossover or cross member for the torsion bar cross member. The other side, yeah, it's gone. So from the inside, you can see we're Swiss cheese over on the other side. This side, fairly intact, except for that right there. Yeah, we're replacing this whole firewall there, upper cowl. So I need these brackets here. So I got to be careful. Got to be careful on these. So I've got to get in here now and get this freed up. I've got these drilled out on this side, so should come out fairly simply here. I think I've got one more down there, but I can't really see it. But again, I got to be careful here, so I'm going to go from this side and peel that back. And then I've got this panel right here, the hinge panel. The hinge panel is right in here. So you can see this is the hinge panel. Get it in here so you can see it. This is the hinge panel right here. This is what I've got to get separated from this outer panel, from this right here. So I'm going to be working on that with the air chisel here in a second. But I wanted to bring you in close and have you take a look. I'm also going to have to peel this off because I'm going to have to set this new panel on this rocker and then screw it to this rocker that exists so that I can go back and work on the jamb. And so I've got solid rigidity here. Now it'll just be screwed on so I can unscrew it and then slide that new rocker panel in here after I get this all welded in so it's solid. I will come in here and I will temporarily screw this panel right here, this outer panel that gets in here. I'll screw it to this temporarily so that I've got, you know, rigidity in here while I'm replacing this rocker panel, because I don't want that rocker panel going anywhere. So, working my way through it. Big progress today so far. So here we go. See, if you look at it this way, you can see how it's bent, like this. So I got to get it straight, switch it. Yeah, it's a whole thing. If I don't get this across here, see, I got things like this right there I got to get rid of. That right there is this. So this is bent. I'm gonna have to bend it. This is bent. Gotta have to straighten that. But this has to sit on top. It sits like that on top with that in there.
So once we get that square,
yeah,
then we'll be able to do the rocker panel once we get the two door jambs done.
And but you see this right there. That is this. So I got to get this off and get that weld out of there. I mean, I could really just cut it. You know, we're not using this again, but yeah, it's a whole thing. Yeah, just like a 1/4 inch gap. So if I take this loose right here and put it against there, I can put it where it's got to go. I'm gonna have to dig into my vice grips plant and get my big vice grips. You gotta make these match. It's gotta match right there. So that screw isn't covered. Then I could put some screws. I put clamp it right here. So you can ask me, why am I being so careful about something I'm just going to throw away? Well, the reason is right here. Right? This has to fit in there so I can screw it all together. So if I've got a bunch of garbage in here, that's not going to fit, right? So I got to get all this little scrap stuff out of here and grind this flat so that when I put this back together, and see how I put grind marks on the end of it, that's so I know which way I am. I know that this has to go right there and has to go up inside there, right? So you have to, right now I gotta get this out, that junk out of there so I can put this up in here. So this goes right like that. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. We're starting the fitment process of putting this all back together, and there's some burrs and some cut off stuff in here that I got to get rid of, but you see it's pretty close. I think the stuff is a little tall, or like I said, I got too much garbage in there and I'm seeing a dent right there, but I mean it's very close to fitting in there right now. Our holes are shifted that way a little bit. It's got to come back up against this edge, but I think there's a couple bends there before we get it there. This is very close right there, so I can't go much that way. This right here hits my mark. That's exactly on my mark that I marked right here. Now these panels are longer and shorter. They're not exact, but they're close, right? So it's a shame our panels are dusty. But once I start putting some screws into this and pulling that tight, but I got to get this one together at the same time. They have to go in there together. If they don't go in there together, then I'll never get them in, because you can't can't put this in behind there once that's there. So what I need to do is I need to get this up in here and get these together, put a couple screws in here. See, I got this right up against, I can put some clamps on it, get it right up against, put some screws in here so that when I put it all together, I can manipulate it around. But first thing I gotta do is I gotta get rid of these burrs that are up in here. If I don't get rid of those, but you can see, you know, this got bent during shipping. So it's got a bend there. I'm gonna have to draw that bend out. And I can do that with clamps. Put these clamps in here and draw them like that together. And then get this one where it's gotta go. But you can see it's out of the groove. So I'm lined up on this side, but I'm out of the groove there. Of course, this is bent like that. When I get this together, when you get that together, you can see it comes in. Now that's this right here. You mean a rubber hammer? All right, so she's all mocked up now, and the pillar is in place. That's where she's got to go, right there. It's right on my marks down here, right up against this frame that was all welded in here. Got this plate all lined up, pretty much hammered back into shape. It's got to come back apart one more time. We got a pour 15 in here, and then we got to get this tab ready to weld. So I'll put a couple screws through here, but we got to pour 15 the inside of this so it doesn't rust. It's already pretty rusted, so we gotta make sure we don't get any worse. Same thing, we'll have to fix this, but it's in place and solid, ain't going nowhere. So now the jam, the rear jam is next as we work towards getting this rocker replaced. So as you can see, this rocker needs to be replaced, but we got to get in here and disassemble this, take all the guts out of there so we can get down in here, because this sits on this rocker right here and we need to get that out of there. So that's the next thing that we tackle. I think we got it pretty screwed in place. I feel really happy with it. I don't see any problems. So looking good. All right, so Dan and I got this all welded in today, or not welded in, excuse me, screwed in. It's ready to weld, but we're not gonna weld it till we get everything screwed together like we talked about earlier. So we're ready to work on the rear jam. This is where we're leaving off today. This is all good. So I think we'll take it apart one more time to pour 15 in here, and then we'll be calling it a win, right, Dan?
Yep.
Any thoughts?
I'm excited to see some black on the car.
Yeah, me too. A nice, strong panel always makes you feel good.
I'm ready for it to stop bleeding rust.
Me too. We sweep up enough of it, don't we?
We do.
All right, guys.